Good morning, students. Today we are going to do the first chapter from the book Footprints Without Feet, and the chapter is Triumph of Surgery. In very short, I'm just going to give you the gist of the chapter. Mrs. Pumphrey was a rich and emotional lady who has a cute dog, Tricky. She loved him and overfed him. As a result, Tricky had put on lot of weight, which made him lethargic. When Dr. Harriet saw the dog, he was shocked. He told Mrs. Pumphrey that Tricky need to be hospitalized, as he knew that Mrs. Pumphrey should not keep the dog on could not keep the dog on a proper diet. The dog was sent to the surgery. There, the dog was given food at fixed intervals and became active. Mrs. Pumphrey was happy to see the result. The author of the story is James Harriet. The important characters are Dr. Harriet, Mrs. Pumphrey and Tricky the dog. Now I put the whole content, the whole chapter into points for your convenience. Mrs. Pumphrey's dog Tricky. Tricky, overfed, looks ill. Dr. Harriet, shocked to see dog. Dog's appearance, hugely fat, bloated, like a sausage, eyes bloodshot and rheumy, tongue lolling out, inactive and lazy. Points out to Mrs. Humphrey, Dr. Harriet points out to Mrs. Humphrey, Mrs. Humphrey thought the dog was suffering from malnutrition. As a result, gave the dog malt, cod liver oil, etc. And the dog had no exercise. Soon, Tricky falls ill. Tricky stops eating and frequent vomiting. Doctors force Mrs. Pumphrey to hospitalize the dog. He thought of separation unbearable to Mrs. Pumphrey. The thought of separation is unbearable to Mrs. Pumphrey. Tricky at the clinic. In the clinic, Tricky looks at the noisy pack of dogs, remains dull, motionless, ignored by the other dogs at the surgery. Tricky's treatment. Given water only on fixed time. On the third day, the dog whimpers, a sign of recovery, no medical treatment. Soon becomes friendly with other dogs, looks active, improves rapidly. Mrs. Pumphrey's concern keeps on ringing dozen times at the surgery, sends eggs, bottles of wine, brandy for the dog, but this is consumed by the hospital staff. Mrs. Pumphrey comes to take the dog back, is surprised at the change in the dog, exclaims, "This is triumph of surgery." Now we come to the theme of the story. What is the theme of the story? The story focuses on how excess of everything is bad and how over pampering can lead to disaster. The story is presented in light and humorous way. People ignorant of healthy ways to groom their pets spoil their health. People are ignorant about their healthy ways to groom their pets and spoil their health. Some people treat their children in the same way. Some people treat their children in the same way and regret it later. Not only the pets but also the children are treated in the same way and they regret it later. The title of the story, it means success at surgery. Triumph means success. At surgery, so this surgery can be the place, the doctor's house that they gained when a dog got involved with other dogs, when Tricky got involved with other dogs and started playing and exercising and was on a particular diet, he became all right, reduced his weight and became active. And the surgery became a place of fun for him. Now, what is the moral of the story? Too much of anything is bad. We all know this. Too much of anything is bad. Overindulgence in food. We should not overindulge in any kind of food. Life without physical activities we can come back to shape and regain health by proper activity. If a strict diet and regular regime is planned, life can be easy and we can live long and a healthy life. Animals should be in natural environment and given proper care. Animals should be in natural environment and given proper. So, all these are the lessons that we learn from, not exactly moral, but the lesson that we learn from this story. Now, we are going to talk about Mrs. Pumphrey. She was a rich lady and she had a small dog. Might be she was a rich and a lonely lady, and that is why she showed so much of love for her dog. Foolish and indulgent. She was foolish because she pampered the dog, not knowing what's good for him and what's bad for him. Indulgent, lot of good things, lot of costly things, a separate bed, coat, clothing, food, especially for the dog. Ignorant, did not know the dog needed exercise. She did not know that the dog, to lead a proper and a good and a healthy life, the dog needed exercise. Now we come to Dr. Harriot, the other important figure in this story. He is a veterinary doctor, kind and gentle with animals, compassionate, wants Mrs. Pumphrey. He sees the Mrs. Pumphrey out on a walk with the dog. He warns her that she is not taking good care of Tricky. Wants to enjoy life, and he also wants to enjoy life, Dr. Harriot. So, he uses the bottles of wine, eggs and chocolates that is sent for Tricky. Instead of giving it to the Tricky, he uses it himself, enjoys life. He is practical man. Change of food and exercise for dog. He knows how to look after dogs. He knows how to take care of them, and he knew exactly what change Tricky needed. Patient. Allows Tricky to take time to meet other dogs, to react with other dogs and to get well. Friendly and loving. Because of his friendly and loving ways, there is a happy atmosphere at the surgery. Aptly suited to his profession. He loves dogs, so he is a veterinary doctor and this suits him well. Now we come to the next character, and the important character is Tricky himself. Tricky is sick, eats everything, keeps on panting even for a short while when he talks, and he is so sick that he keeps on vomiting. He is lethargic, he is fat. He hardly runs about, no exercises, and he has become like a sausages with 4 legs. He is listless, without any activity, just keeps lying on the floor. Loves food. He loves to eat food, he is greedy, and he keeps on eating food without stopping. Ate everything that was offered. Follow a stray, but there is a change in him. When he goes to the surgery, he follows a strict diet that is laid out for him, and he gets better. Does not miss his life of luxuries. At Mrs. Pumphrey's house, his life is full of luxuries, but he does not miss it here at the surgery. He is happy with the simple food, water and the games with the other dogs. But in the end, when his mistress comes to take him, when Mrs. Pumphrey comes to take him, he is pleased to meet her. So, these are some of the points that describe Tricky. Now, what is the irony of the story? The triumph of surgery, where she says that, where Mrs. Pumphrey says that this is a triumph of surgery. It is indeed a triumph of surgery, because surgery can be the place is the place where Tricky has recovered, and it can also mean that without any operation, without any surgery, without any medical interference, Tricky was cured. So, this is what is for today. Thank you very much.